thank you all so very much for coming this morning to our CORE Summer Design Institute.
The Common Core was a perfect starting place for CORE because it was the one place that everyone in all 7 or 8 districts was in exactly the same place. And so we're all, in a sense, starting from scratch, but starting on a very solid foundation of the standards work in all of our districts. So it made sense to sort of undertake this journey together. And what we quickly learned across everything we do in CORE is that there's not a desire or interest to do a single implementation plan or everything looks exactly the same. We think actually our strength is that our districts look different and that different decisions made in the local context make sense, but that there's still a lot of learning that can be done together. The key that we envisioned was teachers working together across districts. You can plan at the district and central office level, and that matters, and districts are critically important, but ultimately teachers have to be intimately involved for it to work and make sense in the classroom.
We have teachers and educators as well as partners here to learn more about the new standards, as well as to teach them about the new type of tests that kids will have to take to demonstrate their learning. And then the second piece to that is teaching teachers how to develop assessments that are like the new tests that students will have to take, so that the kids can be prepared not just what they're learning in the standards, but how to show what they've learned in the standards.
This idea of these shifts in thinking, these shifts in assessments, these shifts in our instructional practices, but honestly, these are about the shifts in what we expect from our students. We have to be able to say that all students can experience and succeed with these ideas. We're going to have the opportunity to create great models of instruction, and we want to make sure that everything we're thinking about and producing embody the ideas of these key instructional shifts.
I kind of thought I was just coming for some professional development to kind of gain knowledge. I didn't quite realize that we were going to be building something to be used, so that's kind of exciting.
We're actually putting together some performance tasks for students, and we decided to base it on 7th grade math, and we are working with the domain of expressions and equations. It's a massive shift in teaching and learning for the students because the students are used to being given the answer. They're used to being given a protocol, some type of procedure that they need to go through. So for them to actually sit there and have the time, be allowed to just think through things is going to be different for them as well as the teachers, because we like to make sure our students get to the right answer. So we want to help them sometimes a little bit too much. So it's going to be a shift for a lot of us.
I'm okay with this equilibrium. It's the same type of response that hopefully our students are going to have, meaning that they're confused, but they're going to learn something.
One of the speakers talked about assessments and actually clearing up the difference between what is formative assessment, interim assessment, and then summative. And actually that was the biggest piece where I was like, okay, that now I am completely clear on those differences.
I like this process. It puts me closer to the students. I know exactly what they're doing, when they're doing it, and what their levels are.
What I found with the ELA is I have to undo 5 years of multiple choice thinking, in which there are 4 possible answers to every question, and I don't have to put a lot of depth of thought into it. And I have to work all year to undo that thinking. So I imagine that as I ask them to do this in math, it'll also be undoing of what they are familiar with and challenging them in ways they haven't experienced before.
The core districts are thinking that their ultimate mission is to find a place where teachers can get back to the project-based learning, how it really develops a deeper level of knowledge in students, a deeper learning, a more enjoyable learning, really students who are engaged in the content. This is a perfect time to begin adding back in science and social studies and art, and looking at reading and writing and mathematics in a way where we can start to see those things in social studies and in science, and through science I can learn more about math and be a better mathematician and be a better scientist. And I can know more about my world and about my country and about my local community by reading and by writing and looking at art and listening to music.
We have 3 big buckets of research that we're trying to carry out, which is 1, documenting, what's going on in the core partnership to understand how districts collaborate together to implement ambitious reforms. And then the second one is to really understand how the collaboration then feeds into organizational learning for each of the districts. And then the third one is really to try and understand, once we have these sort of jointly developed products that core districts work on together, how do they implement and scale those products or innovations back in their own local contexts?
Me da muchísimas gracias estar aquí con todos ustedes esta tarde, especialmente porque somos todos maestros.
CORE and the core districts is incredibly important because it brings educators together. As I speak to educators in my district, one of the principal concerns that they have around professional development is we don't have enough time to actually collaborate and have very focused collaboration sessions that are tied to the work, job-embedded work. Here you have districts who are bringing their educators and their best thinkers together to look at the scope of work and then how does it impact the classroom. The wonderful part about this is that then we all get to share it. Nothing is proprietary, everything is open source. We're going to share freely with core districts and with non-core districts. We have an opportunity to move that work forward in a very significant way.